Welcome back. That was a great talk. I learned a little bit about what the Deloitte is doing with sustainability. I actually found it truly interesting.
Yeah, it just shows like the power of data, the power of visualization. There's so many stakeholders that needs to work together. So it's really interesting to see platforms that help decision makers make their decisions. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, very cool. So, if this is your first time joining us, my name is Brian Terry. I'm a senior solution architect focusing on ISV integrations, and I'm joined here with Mary and Sandeep. And today we're talking about sustainability. So, I guess if we're talking about sustainability, it's one of those things where I've heard a lot about it in the newspapers. I've heard a lot about it, talking to customers, and I think it's a big issue that people are really starting to address, especially around climate change and a lot of things, but we hear this term a lot. So, Mary, can you talk to us a little bit and tell us, what is sustainability? Can you, in a layman's term, what exactly is it?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, Brian, because I think it does mean something different for everybody. And so there's a common definition. I'm going to look at my notes to make sure I quote it correctly. The United Nations has defined sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So this is a way of thinking about and shaping lots of different initiatives around sustainability. And um, climate change is one of those, and the environment obviously is a big focus. And we've seen a lot of great solutions, including the one that Deloitte just showed us now, that will help us to measure and track and create initiatives that are very specific around the impact we can deliver today. But I think there's also an opportunity here to, when we look at sustainability, to expand it and look at how other economies and how the global south specifically is going to be impacted by climate change. So how do we help build resiliency, not just in the way that we leverage large climate change initiatives, but also in empowering and enabling those communities that will be most affected? How do we also include, as part of our roadmaps for sustainability, how do we ensure that we're bringing the next generation with us, that we're getting trainings, and as we're looking at new technologies and new ways of delivering energies, that we have the proper training programs around that. So these, again, are social sustainability initiatives, and we're going to talk more about those as we go. But I think, there's a holistic approach, and Nathan from Deloitte just mentioned, this global imperative, a code red for humanity. There are lots of large challenges, and they're complex, that we need to be looking at. But I think what's important is that we lay them step by step. We realize that these are 20, 30-year goals, and that we need to start looking at, how do we experiment right now? How do we leverage the technologies that are available today to start building out and creating that impact, and start to bring industry with us, so that we're looking at that broader change at this year, that we show improvements for next year. And I think Deloitte just showed a great example of how you can leverage technology, how you can leverage this amount of data to start informing those roadmaps, to start creating that prioritization of where can we create the biggest impact today, and how do we know where we're going to have to fill gaps as we go along and as we iterate on our strategy and on our planning. So, sustainability, very important topic. I think it's something that should be a part of every project, a part of every line of business should be considering, how do we incorporate some of these larger initiatives as part of our day-to-day project management, as part of our day-to-day program management, and as part of every one of our initiatives as an organization that has and can create impact.
That's super interesting. I know you touched on it a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about, what is the role of AWS in digital technology for sustainability?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because for 10, 15 years, we've been talking about, digital transformation of industry, and how important it is to have, an industry, this data, and that can optimizations or efficiencies in your organization and your operations, even in your supply chains. So now as we look at sustainability transformation, right, this is going to take us a lot longer, but digital transformation is what's going to enable a lot of these sustainability initiatives that we're talking about. You know, you did see from Deloitte examples of how that data is being leveraged. Well, that data and having access and visibility to them and dashboards are going to help us to measure where we are today. But what's really important is that it's helping us to create insights into where we need to go in the future, and how can we maybe speed up some of that impact because we're intentional about how we use that data, about how we deliver, you know, the actionable insights for next best steps. So, you know, using technology, using artificial intelligence to help drive more insights to some of those outcomes, and leveraging technology in new ways as we continue to grow and iterate. Right, we don't have all of the answers today. A lot of the technology is there, but we're excited, you know, working together with our customers, with our partners, in learning how we can collaborate to leverage technologies in new and better ways to create those sustainability outcomes and deliver on those roadmaps. Maybe Sandeep, I know has a perspective on this as well. I'll hand it back to him
Absolutely. No,
maybe.
thank you for sharing all of that, Mary. You know, I also want to call out, you know, everyone who's watching the video, everyone who's here with us on live. We all have a role to play. We all bring skill sets to solve sustainability, right? It is, as Mary said, it is not a solved issue, and it is going to take multiple worldviews, people with multiple backgrounds, people with multiple skills to collaborate and solve and find a solution. And it's not a single solution either. And when we talk about sustainability, often we think that it is just an environmental issue, but no, there's the social aspects to sustainability, there's the governance piece, there's the economic aspect to sustainability. So for me, it's really social and economic sustainability within a stable Earth system. Like if you ask me what sustainability is, so it's really finding that balance, and technology is a key enabler. We can use technology to like really democratize how decisions can be made, how we can use data, how we can enable people to make those decisions. So that's what personally I get most excited about. And Brian, I think in the next slide, we have some efforts that AWS has been doing, like what we have been, like our journey so far. Mary, do you want to touch on a few of these, just in terms of like how we're thinking with the data centers and how, you know, some of the tools that we have launched for our customers?
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. I think it's really important that we talk as AWS, some of the initiatives that we're doing that support our customers as they're building and leveraging technology to solve for sustainability. It's also important that the technology itself is sustainable. So this is a really important part of my colleagues and of AWS, and some really smart people who are looking across at, you know, new energy technologies. How do we ensure that you know, we're delivering against our own commitments? The climate pledge is obviously our North Star, and we're looking at how can we reach those commitments even sooner. And so there's initiatives around renewable energies and applying renewable energies where we have data centers. But there's also water conservation. You know, water is a precious resource. It's something that I think Sandeep and I both hold very near and dear to heart, is that the way that we use water and the way that you know, water is consumed and treated, and an important resource for many of the things that we do for many of our customers. Most of them are going to rely on water, AWS and the initiatives that we're driving. And I'm excited about what, you know, some of those teams are doing, and some of the recent announcements that we've made from you know, through some organizations that are focused on water. So that's part of it. I think there's also you know, some technology services that we've delivered on. Graviton is a great example of that, and we continue to look at how advancements in technology will deliver and support what our customers are building. And then I know my colleagues are going to later talk about the well-architected. So AWS, we've had the well-architected framework. Traditionally, it had 5 pillars. We've recently added the 6th around sustainability. So again, ensuring that we're architecting the solutions that are on AWS in a sustainable way is an important way of ensuring that the technology is an enabler and not as much of a contributor to some of the sustainability outcomes that we're looking to drive.
And then there's compounded benefits, right? Like everything that AWS does to provide that sustainable infrastructure now for everyone on this call to build on top of AWS and solve real world sustainability challenges. We have that compounding effect of everything that's done on the infrastructure side. Now we can use that as a building block to go and solve challenges out. And that actually takes me to the next slide.
Yeah. Actually, this is very interesting. I mean, I love this idea of having these cloud technologies to help solve this sustainability. So, like, can you provide some examples of how cloud technologies can help solve this sustainability?
Absolutely, Brian. I can take that on.
Cool.
I think that's an important question to ask too, because we talk a lot about data center sustainability. We talk a lot about like the water stewardship. Now they are absolutely important, and they provide that foundation, right? So what you're seeing on the screen is a set of 9 solution areas or focus areas that we'd like to think. And this is still a work in progress. Like sustainability keeps on changing, like the priorities keep on changing. So this is how we are currently thinking about it. The piece here is using let me unpack each one of them. Let's start with like the first, ESG measurement reporting. So we saw Deloitte example with the dashboard. They're using a lot of data. There's a lot of visualization. There's a lot of effort in collecting that data. There's a lot of effort in like validating and ensuring it fits with compliance, etc. So that's bucket 1. 2 is around sustainable, responsible, traceable value chain. So here's an example, like the shirt that I'm wearing. I want to make sure that the cotton that was used to make this shirt was responsibly sourced. There was no rainforest that was cleared to make this shirt. So how do we, again, and use technology to make sure that I have full visibility into everything that went into making this? Around number 3, like decarbonization and net zero energy and transportation. So there's a reason why we picked energy and transportation, because there's a lot of there's a case to be made, like 50% of emissions do come from that sector. So how do we help these sectors move towards decarbonization, be it using renewable energy, and think about it, right? Like we have our energy systems which was designed decades ago. It's all centralized systems that was designed decades ago. Now we have different kinds of energy generation with solar, wind, and geothermal, etc. So how do we design smart grid systems that can handle multiple varieties of energy as input? Same thing with transportation and mobility. A lot of changes happening in the space. How do we use technology to enable transition to an electric vehicle? Stuff around 4, it's all around the social aspects of sustainability, and this is again something that's very close to my heart. It's really about empowering and protecting people. And a couple examples here is, even from a health and safety standpoint, when in an industrial setting, instead of sending a human to a potentially unsafe environment, we could use drones and computer vision to monitor these things remotely. Or something like education, like this very presentation, if there's a means to translate it in real time and make it more accessible, democratize the information. So all of those is around, again, how we can use technology to further advance some of the social aspects of sustainability. Number 5 is around high efficiency operations. So think about using IoT data and optimizing unit operations. So there's a lot of, again, computing capabilities that goes into making sure that systems can be optimized. And so a lot of those solutions go in that bucket. 6 is around material circularity. So this is really, again, as you see through this whole solution area, we are really trying to expand the term sustainability, right? It's not just about decarbonization. There's a lot of pieces for sustainability. And again, the material aspect of sustainability is also very important. And so how do we make sure that, I can pick recycling as an example. One of the challenges in recycling is how do we differentiate different kinds of plastics, for instance. So this would be an example where we could use computer vision to identify and sort different materials so that they can be recycled or they could be reused and repurposed. Like that's the principle of circularity. The 7 around smart, sustainable, resilient buildings. Mary touched on climate change. A big way climate change impacts us is through our living environment. And so there's a lot of things that technology can do to enable, to build that resilience. And then last on securing water, food, and energy nexus. This is again another big bucket, right? If you look at the energy, water, food systems, bulk of the water goes towards making food. A lot of energy is being used to make food. A lot of energy is used to move water. So to really solving food means solving energy, means solving water. And again, technologies like using satellite imagery to optimize how we grow what we grow and where we grow. So some of those come in solution 8. And then lastly, the sustainable IT infrastructure. That's that foundation, right? How do we provide a foundation where, from an energy standpoint, it's as clean energy as possible. There's water stewardship, everything we use around sustainable concrete and graviton, all that provides that foundation with which we can go and tackle some of these problems, and that's listed 1 through 8. So I don't know, Mary, any comments? I've been talking for a while.
No, I think it was a great overview. And, from our perspective, looking at this, these 9 solution areas, it's about how do we relate to where our customers are. I know Deloitte talked a little bit about, of all of the different initiatives really showcase the fact that you can have a roadmap that is a cohesive strategy that includes and incorporates multiple initiatives, and can, again, from my earlier point, right, is every year we want to see improvements on sustainability reports. There's opportunities within each of these, whatever industry you're in, to really start looking at where you can have that increased focus and impact.
Very cool, very cool, very cool subject. How can our customers find out a little bit more about the solutions that partners create around sustainability, and also just some general information of what AWS is doing around sustainability?
Yeah, we have a couple of links we'll share here, and it's reaching out to the team here. It's AWS-sustainability-partners at Amazon.com. That reaches this team and others like us. We're also our partner solution finder. Every day there's new ones coming available there, and excited to see what the innovation again that's happening on AWS every day, and how do we get it out in front of our customers? How do we enable those partners create that impact?
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
I imagine we could probably talk about this all day because this seems very interesting to me. I never thought that by using a cloud and creating these architectures, I can actually help with sustainability. And this is really eye-opening for me, and I guess other people. This is really cool stuff.
Yeah, to me, that's my at least call to action to the audience, is we all have a role to play, and technology is going to be a key enabler to actually solving some of these challenges. So the skills that all of you bring to the table is going to be absolutely critical for us to get to that sustainable transformation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for the quick chat about this.